Well, it's better late than never. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers have signed Melvin Ingram. He's a 32-year-old former Pro Bowler for the Los Angeles Chargers. 1-year deal with Pittsburgh, which I think is fantastic, by the way. Considering the cap crunch Pittsburgh's in, to be able to get someone like Melvin Ingram with his kind of upside at this point in the year is fantastic. They also got Chaz Green, I believe, on a 1-year deal, which is solid. I mean, considering where we are financially, considering where we are in the offseason, being able to get a guy like that who's a veteran who has rotated in this with offensive lines in the past, has some minimal starting experience, having a guy like that being added to the back of the roster, maybe competing for a roster spot in training camp is good, especially considering where our offensive line is right now. But the Melvin Ingram deal for me is the big one here. So he only played 7 games last season before getting injured. He's 32 years old, so he's getting up there in age. But in the 5 seasons leading up to last year, so the 5 seasons immediately before the 2020 campaign, I believe he had 43 sacks. So highly productive, and there were 2 10-sack seasons in there. The 2 years prior to the injury, he had 7 sacks each year. So a fairly productive pass rusher alongside Joey Bosa there in Los Angeles. Last year, no sacks and 7 starts, which obviously does not look good on paper, but according to PFF, he had 28 pressures in those 7 starts. So pressure-wise, that's pretty good production. I mean, you're looking at, 4 pressures a game? Did I do the math right? Yeah, I did. 4 pressures a game. I mean, you might not convert those into sacks, but come on. In Pittsburgh's defense, where you got Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, TJ Watt, those pressures are going to turn into sacks. It's going to happen. And maybe they're not sacks for Melvin Ingram, maybe they're sacks for TJ Watt. But they're going to turn to sacks. So you have to feel good about that. I'm just staring at this wasp down right now. It's just sitting a couple feet away from me right now. But, you got to feel confident. Those are going to turn to sacks for Pittsburgh. Because they have more pass rushers than the Chargers do. And they have a defense that's more built for rushing and passers than the Chargers did. And also pressures, and PFF has proven this, pressures are more predictive of sacks than sacks are predictive of sacks. So to say that you could go out and have, like Trey Hendrickson, go out and have 13.5 sacks this year, that's not guaranteeing you're going to go have 10 next year. It's not. But if you go out there and have 60 pressures in a year, it's predicted that you're probably going to do really well sack-wise next year. So that, I think, is one of the key differences here, one of the key things you have to talk about when we're talking about Melvin Ingram. This Wops is still flying around, man. It's making me nervous. But that's one of the key things to talk about with Melvin Ingram. He has the pressure production. If you can do that at a high level, when you're still 31 years old, on a defense that's less talented than the one Pittsburgh has, at least along the defensive line, then you have to feel very good about what he's going to be able to do in Pittsburgh. Now, will he start week 1? I don't know, because he's getting very late in the season here, coming off a year where he only played 7 games because of injury. So I have no idea what his availability is going to be. I have no idea how quickly he's going to pick up the defense. We'll see. But you have to feel really good about this deal. I mean, a 1-year deal, very low risk, bringing a guy with Pro Bowl caliber ceiling and experience. Some guys had 10 sacks per season in the past. You got to love this addition. Now, the reason why I say I'm not sure he's going to start right away is, well, first off, you got to learn the playbook defensively. You got to make sure he's healthy and all that. Alex Highsmith was really good last year on a very limited snap count. I think PFF had him down for 440 snaps. I think Pro Football Reference had 438. So about the same number right there. Split the difference a little bit. He was really good. I think he's being highly underrated. I know people talk about Dotson on the offensive line being really underrated. I think you could say the same thing here about Highsmith. We got 2 really good players here. I think, again, only limited snaps last year, so maybe they don't replicate that on a massive level this season. But you have to hope that those limited snaps that were very productive can translate to an entire season and translate to playing over 1,000 snaps this year. But Highsmith, I don't know how PFF calculates it, if they include sacks in their pressure totals or if they don't. But so either way, Highsmith had 19 or 21 pressures last year in just 440 snaps. That's fairly productive, especially for a rookie guy who was a mid-round selection. You have to feel very good about him going into his second season in the NFL. More time to learn his defense, more time to just be NFL ready, because he was coming from a smaller school. So you have to understand there's a bit of a jump there also in the physicality and that kind of stuff. Being in the weight room, being more accustomed to playing against NFL caliber players than you would at this level Alex Highsmith was playing at previously. So you bring him in, he's going to be really good this year, I think. He's going to be a very productive player. But now you got Melvin Ingram as well. That's also an insurance policy in case someone gets injured. It's a 17-game season now, so there's always an increased chance of injury for guys Unfortunately, stars like TJ Watt, we've seen them go down in the past. Let's hope it doesn't happen this year, knock on wood. But, now you got a little bit of insurance policy here in case someone like Highsmith or someone like Watt goes down. You have Ingram who can step in and play at a high level as well. He's not been great against the run recently. Ingram, at least according to PFF, the past 2 years, his run defense grade has been down pretty much. But he's still an effective pass rusher, and I think Pittsburgh could really utilize him as maybe a situational pass rusher, someone who's on the field, maybe not for 1,000 snaps a year, maybe for 500 to 600 snaps. I think that'd be a very effective move. That would really make the most out of Ingram, really make the most of what he has left. And for Ingram, I think it would be a good move too, because if you are very productive there on that limited snap count, which I think he would be, then you get to have him roll into the offseason next year and have maybe 7 or 8 sacks on his resume from this past season, and could get a substantial pay raise again. Could make a nice little chunk of cash for himself there. Who else we need to talk about? Quincy Roche. Let's talk about Quincy Roche. I think he was a 6th round pick this year out of Miami. I like him a lot. He's very undersized. This is just the issue. He's very small, even for an outside linebacker. But I really like him. I really like what he did I believe it was at Temple previously and then at Miami. Productive at both schools. A 6th round value was fantastic for him. That was a great pick by Pittsburgh. Even if it was not necessarily a huge need, because I still believe in Highsmith quite a bit, I still think it was a fantastic value grab for Pittsburgh in the draft. One of the best selections they made this year. I'll be interested to see what he does. I don't know if you'll see him on special teams primarily. I would assume he doesn't get many starting snaps or many, well, not just starting snaps. I would assume he doesn't get many snaps this year at all. But I would really like to see him worked into the rotation a little bit there. If Highsmith struggles early, or if Ingram is taking a little while to get adjusted to things, or maybe looking a little slow out the gate, I would really like to see him mixed in just a little bit throughout the season, just to see what we have there. Because I think we could have someone special there. We could have a steal there. I just want to see a little bit of him just to know, either way what we're looking at here. And again, he could be a guy who, Roche could be a guy who won't be ready for 2 or 3 years just because of the size difference. And you have to live with that. But again, I feel very comfortable with Highsmith. I feel very comfortable with Ingram, despite the fact that he had no sacks last year in 7 starts. I think this defense is still in a very good place, even without Bud Dupree. I think most Pittsburgh Steelers fans understand that. I think most Steelers fans get that Dupree, well, he was very good the last 2 years for us, and he was very productive, and we were very appreciative of what he did for Pittsburgh. His numbers were probably a little bit inflated by playing alongside guys like Watt, Hayward, and Tuitt, and in the defense he was playing in. But at the same point, very appreciative of what Bud Dupree's done for us. I just think that now we have guys who will be able to replicate, or at least get close to the level that Bud Dupree was at this year, and then maybe even better, even beyond that, moving forward with guys like Alex Highsmith. So I feel very comfortable with our defense, if front at least, not with our secondary necessarily, not with our cornerback depth, but I feel very good about the defensive front, which is really what we need right now. Even with Vince Williams retiring, which I should make another video on that, but Vince, great leader for the group. I feel kind of sad he's retiring. I was upset when they cut him. I understood why, but they brought him back, and he decides to retire before putting training camp, which, you gotta listen to your body. You gotta listen to your friends and family. So, wish Vince Williams all the best. It's fantastic having him around. The team is a great leader. He's a great pillar in the community. I'm just still going to follow him on social media. He's still a fun follow. So, thank you, Vince Williams, for everything you've done. And I'm looking forward to this season with guys like Melvin Ingram on the team. Looking forward to year 2 Alex Highsmith, and looking forward to see if we can get some Quincy Roche production.